My name is Marina Peter Rodrigues. I am from Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, and I am here to present the abstract is the inability to contract the pelvic floor muscles related to female urinary incontinence. We have no financial or commercial interest to disclose. So I would like to start talking about the pelvic floor muscle contraction, that is the ability to squeeze and lift these muscles up. But studies have shown that around 30 to 50% of women do not contract their pelvic floor muscles correctly at a first consultation, even after verbal instruction or vaginal palpation. And the pelvic floor muscle training has been recommended as the first-line treatment for urinary incontinence due to the important role of these muscles in the continence mechanism. So what about women who are not able to contract their pelvic floor muscles? So the aim of this study was to know how many women with urinary incontinence were unable to contract the pelvic floor muscles in a first assessment and to analyze if this was related to worse urinary incontinence symptoms. So considering all of has been published about the role of these muscles in the continence mechanism, our hypothesis was that the inability to contract the pelvic floor muscles would be associated with worse urinary incontinence symptoms. So this was a cross-sectional study from medical records of women with urinary incontinence who were referred to pelvic floor physiotherapy after underwent a gynecological evaluation in a public teaching hospital in the south of Brazil between May 2013 to December 2019. Records included demographic data, pelvic floor muscle strength through modified Oxford scale, and the final score of the ICIQ from a baseline assessment. We divided the participants into two groups, those who were not able to voluntarily perform a pelvic floor muscle contraction and those who were able to perform that. And we ran all the analysis in SPSS, and incomplete data were excluded. So in our results, we found 506 records. The mean age was 57 years old. They were multiparous, and 36.4 was not able to perform a good pelvic floor muscle contraction. The main type of urinary incontinence was the mixed urinary incontinence, and the mean score of the ICIQ was 15 points, a severe urinary incontinence. When we compared both groups, we found that they were similar regarding to age, BMI, parity, vaginal delivery, and also regarding to the ICIQ. So both groups had a severe urinary incontinence. So 36.4 of women in our study were not able to contract the pelvic floor muscles, corroborating with other studies and drawing our attention to the importance of evaluating the correct execution of this contraction before recommending the pelvic floor muscle training. But both groups had the same severity of urinary incontinence symptoms, but we used just the ICIQ, that is a subjective way of evaluating the urinary incontinence. But this reinforces that other pelvic floor muscle aspects are important in the mechanism of continence, like resistance, coordination, relaxation, and connective tissues. So a good pelvic floor muscle function has mainly been attributed to strength, but nowadays the concept of motor control and the pelvic floor muscle recognized as an important part of the musculoskeletal system is increasingly emerging. But why so many women are unable to perform a correct contraction? Is it lack of strength? Is it lack of body perception, nervous or muscle injury like levator any muscle avulsion? So other studies could be developed to better understand the incapacity of performing a pelvic floor muscle contraction in women with pelvic floor muscle dysfunction and in healthy women too. And it would be interesting to check the sexual function and the capacity to contract the pelvic floor muscle. I would like to thank you and thanks CAPES and CNPq that are supporting our studies here in Brazil. Thank you.